Hi guys, it's Gibson and welcome back to We Should Talk. By the time you're hearing this, there will be only a couple days until the election. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't say anything. I know that this is a pop culture podcast, but this is the most important election of our lives. So please just vote. If you haven't voted already, I mean, there's been record turnout early with mail-in and early voting. But if you haven't voted yet, make sure you do so. It is our duty as citizens of the United States to make our voices heard through our vote. And it's a simple act, but it means so much. And so it's never been more important to vote. So please, please, please vote if you haven't already. And make sure the other people in your lives are voting too, and make sure they have a plan. Check in with your parents, check in with your friends, check in with your other family members, and make sure that they are planning on voting. This week's episode of We Should Talk features a deeper interview, actually, than the past couple have been, with Alexis Ren, who is a model and an influencer. She's most known in the mainstream sort of as a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, and also somebody who did very well in Dancing with the Stars several years back. That sort of kind of blasted her into the mainstream. Throughout our interview, I sort of asked her, what's it like to have those two titles sort of follow her? Because every time that there's coverage of her in tabloids or just kind of across the entertainment news landscape, like those two things are the top two things that are mentioned about her. And it's been several years since those things happened to her. So I was curious to know sort of like where she personally stands mentally on like, is she okay with those two things, like being the descriptors that are always kind of put on her, or does that get frustrating? Because I knew that some people are super familiar with Alexis Ren's story and some people aren't, and so I had her take me back to the beginning, 10 years ago, when she was discovered by Brandy Melville at the age of 13 and became a model for them, and sort of everything that has happened in her career since then. We went over all of that, and just sort of her changing mentality around being a public figure, about being an influencer, about being somebody who people look to. She has millions and millions of followers on social media. And there was a point where she was just like, I have influence, but am I using that to make a real impact? How am I using that influence? What am I saying and doing that people are paying attention to? And how can that be changed to be more important and be more impactful? And so earlier this year, a chance run-in with a really impressive woman who she'll tell you about led her to co-founding a new platform, a new retailer called Future Prosperity, which is aiming to, stop our addiction to plastic. And we all know that's an issue. She's not about zero waste, as she told me, because it's not necessarily realistic for everyone to be zero waste in their everyday lives. But I think through Future Prosperity, she's aiming to create small, actionable ways for people to find solutions to our addiction to plastic. What can you swap out? What can you live without? They sell these different kits for your kitchen and your bathroom. And she just took me through the story. It's a kind of an incredible story of how she started this company. And it was just really great to hear from her. And so we got kind of deep, and she made some really amazing points that got me thinking about my own use of plastic in everyday life. And so, and I was just really impressed with Alexis's overall transformation. We've talked before, but she just has such a good head on her shoulders, and she's been through a lot in her life that has given her really great perspective. And so it's a really great interview. Even if you aren't familiar with Alexis Ren, we get the background info in the interview and then kind of catch up with where she is now. I think it's great for everyone to hear. But before we jump to that, I did want to share something pretty fun. Again, I've talked about in past episodes, living in New York, you do pass celebrities on the street all the time. And I've made a list of those on my phone. And one of my fave celebrities that I have seen multiple times out and about is Gigi Hadid. I think that she's just so great. I think that she is somebody who uses her platform for good. She started as sort of a model influencer type. And I think that she's kind of jumped up to the next level of celebrity. And with that, sort of the stuff that she has been posting has gotten more serious, has gotten more impactful. She posts about giving back all the time, and she encourages her followers to make a difference. And I think it's a distinct change from earlier in her career. And one time I was walking down Bowery back home, and I saw this big group of people outside of the small gallery called The Hole. And I just crossed the street to see what was going on. It looked like a gallery opening, but it was hot out, so people were sort of like hanging out outside. And I noticed this woman and two guys sort of leaving that crowd to keep walking down Bowery. And I did a double take, and I was like, oh, that is Gigi Hadid. She was wearing a full denim ensemble, velvet booties, and big sunglasses with her hair in like a top knot. and they were walking very slowly. So to kind of like see where they were going, I promise it's not creepy. They were walking the same direction as my apartment, but I just wanted to like, just walk behind them for a sec. So I slowed down my pace. They were walking very slowly, and I didn't really overhear anything juicy or anything. I overheard something about their dinner plans. I think they were going to egg shop. I kind of was like, kind of taken aback because she is one of those people who has the aura. She has that star power. She is somebody who's very alluring. When you again, like I did the double take. When you look at her, you're like, oh my God, like you're very struck by her beauty, but also just by her confidence, and what she was wearing. And just, I was walking behind them at probably 10 feet, and I noticed people notice her, and people like kind of snuck out their cell phones to take a picture. I didn't do that, but I stood on a street corner with her for like a couple of minutes while we were waiting for the light to change. And it was just a very like, I felt like I was kind of like in this aura of hers for a hot sec. And not a lot of people have that. I think it's a very rare quality for people to have. And it was just very kind of like an interesting experience for me to have. And a couple of years later, I saw her again. I was leaving Soho House and I was waiting for an Uber, and I saw this woman sprinting up the block with a man with a camera chasing her. And I was like, what is going on? It was Gigi Hadid wearing sneakers, sprinting away from this paparazzi and into Soho House, where you can only go in if you are a member or a guest of a member. So he couldn't get in. And he kind of like did this like audible gasp to everyone who was listening. And but she was like laughing and running into this into this club. And it was just like, again, such a random little moment of like, but it's what happens in New York. And if you keep your head up, if you look up, like you're going to notice these things. And so I just love that I've had like two very random but pretty fun interactions with Gigi Hadid. I've never actually met her in real life. And I've seen her at other parties and events through work, but those were my two chance run-ins with her. So anyway, just wanted to leave you with something fun, but keep listening for my full interview with Alexis Ren, co-founder of Future Prosperity. And don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It's very much appreciated. Enjoy the interview. All right, so we're here with Alexis Ren. Alexis, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so good to see your smiling face, Gibson.
Oh, I know. So we talked back in March or April. I think you were quarantining in Hawaii, I want to say.
Correct, I was.
What's life been like for you since then?
It's been interesting. I've been trying to find a balance between being here and being in Hawaii, because I really felt like I've accumulated an amazing community there, and I feel very connected there. And it just reminds me of why I'm doing all this, like why I'm here. And so just going back and forth has been the tango that I'm doing. But
Yeah.
It's really good because most things, as you can see right now, this is the example, it's all virtual. So it's been really easy to do so. But like the acting industry is kind of coming up again and things are happening. So I'm going to be back and forth way more. But yeah, no, it's amazing. It's been a blessed time for me because I really have had the opportunity to, and I think a lot of people have, slow down and actually remember things that are important.
Totally. Is there like a certain feeling you get when you're in LA that you're like, oh, it's time to go back to Hawaii and like have a little moment for myself? Like, do you like start to feel some sort of way?
Yeah, it's like my third eye, man, when I can't access my third eye, when I'm like in meditation and I can't like center myself, I feel like, so I'll either be like, okay, it's time to go back to Hawaii, or it's just time to go back to nature. Cause it's the same thing to me. It's just surprising how, you have to go so out of your way to like be next to a tree. And that kind of freaks me out. Like the concept, we forget. Right. And then when I go to Hawaii, I'm just like, oh, this is what nature looks like.
You're talking to me. I'm in New York City. So it's like, oh my God. I was in Central Park the other day and I was like, wow, there's green space
we have to gate off areas for nature now. It's just weird. It's like abstract and it's normal, but like when you really think about it, you're like, that's actually really weird. So yeah.
Totally. So, I mean, we're connecting today to talk about Future Prosperity, which is something you recently co-founded. And I want to get to that in a bit and we'll talk really in depth, but I before we get there, I do want to give people listening just like a really kind of like part of your backstory and just sort of how you got to where you are. Cause I feel like you've worn so many different hats throughout honestly, for the past, even in the industry for a decade now. And so like, I would just love to for people listening to just kind of hear a little bit of that backstory. So you were discovered by Brandy Melville when you were 13, I want to say. That was, again, 10 years ago. What do you remember about that? Like, what does that mean that you were discovered? Like, what was that experience like for you?
I just I love taking photos and shooting and doing all that. So it was just like I was just in the back alleyway of the store, and this sweetheart girl, Gina, I think she was like in her early 20s at the time. She was like, "Hi, sweetie." She was like, "So this is weird, but like you just fit. You just seem so like in our aesthetic, and we would love to shoot you." And that, to me, that was like probably the coolest thing that had ever happened to
Of
me at that
course. Oh
time.
my God,
Like,
it's
I
the
was so
dream.
young. I was so young. And so I met like the girls who like ran like the social media account, and we just started shooting, and it was a really pure way to enter the industry of modeling, because I felt very protected and I didn't have an agency at the time. But
Hmm.
through my work through with Brandy and like accumulating that friendship and that family with those people, it was very easy to then get signed and then start moving. But it was just a very like friendship family based way, because I genuinely would just like go hang out with them and we'd just shoot. And this was before like it really blew up.
Hmm.
And then that was when around the time when Tumblr was like it.
Totally.
Like Tumblr
Hmm.
was just like
Yeah.
everyone was on
Those are the
Tumblr.
days.
Yeah, and all of those photos started to go by. It was just like it was a new aesthetic of a new lifestyle that
For
I think
sure.
we're all looking for, and being able to be captured in that way. I was like, oh, there's something new. There's something new here. It felt new because it
Hmm.
wasn't modeling. It was just simply showing your lifestyle, I guess you could say, and that was like the start of what we now know influencers and social media in that world. So it was
Totally.
interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, so like when because it leads into, again, like the sort of like going viral on Tumblr, we're documenting travel on YouTube, and Instagram's blowing up. Like, what was that portion of your career like? Because it's sort of like you were like just like quickly building this huge platform for yourself with like people who started
Yeah.
to really adore you, um, and just like and who you were. What was that like for you?
It was really abstract because I didn't actually know what was happening at the time. For me, it was
Mm,
like I had tunnel vision. I was like, I love modeling. I think it's such an art. At the time, I think I was 14. I remember going to a meet and greet and meeting like Candace Swanepoel and Miranda Kerr, and just being like,
wow.
this is it, like I want to do this so bad.
Yeah.
And just be a reflection of what a powerful woman is. And so when social media came along, I was just so wrapped up in like that old path, that I was taken off guard, and it almost it scared me, because then suddenly I was pigeonholed like really quickly, and I was like, but no, I was like gonna do this modeling thing and da da da, and it
Yeah.
did help so much, but it also held me back, right? Because at the time when I first came up, like I remember, I think it was Forbes that called me an influencer, and I was just like, what is that? Like, what is an influencer? And
Right.
then from there, I felt almost like outcasted in the modeling industry, because I was like, the people didn't know what to think of me, and it took a really long time to like gain that. And so I actually felt a little outcast for a really long time, at
Mm.
least in the lane that I wanted to go into.
Well, I think that makes sense. I think it's like it has taken some of these established industries some time to catch up with the
Yeah.
fact that, like, coming up through social media, or that bringing you to people's consciousness, like that there's nothing like wrong with that. Like, that's just like a totally normal way to kind of become a public figure these days. But I feel like when it sounds like when it was happening to you, people hadn't caught up yet, you
No,
know?
yeah, there was no correlation, and everyone like wanted to take advantage of whatever was circling me, but then no one respected it. And so it was
Mm.
like it was, yeah, I definitely felt like sad, because I was like, I don't like, it's
Yeah.
like all these people coming at me, idolizing, whatever, like chasing down the streets, all these crazy things, and yet I didn't feel like I had a place in the industry
Hmm.
that I wanted to be in. But it actually was so beneficial, because that's when I realized, I was like, oh, like we want people with a voice. We want actual influence,
Right.
not, we want these girls in the modeling industry to speak up about who they are, because we're looking for identities and characters and souls to follow. Because I definitely think that was around the time when people were just tired of not seeing who the person was through the photo. And so
For sure.
nowadays when we're looking, you know, and this was like only 6 years ago, but now we look at the models in the world and we know exactly who they are. We know exactly, you know, because it's like it's more of an influence based world, which I think is really beautiful. And there's an opportunity to make more change than there ever has been through these girls, these boys, through any world, you know. So it's a really positive thing.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, and a lot of responsibility. And I feel like that experience, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that probably gave you a pretty thick skin in terms of like just dealing with some of that. Seriously
Yeah.
though, like, do you feel as though that also made you stronger just like as a person and being able to kind of take some of this?
Yeah, I was lucky. I was homeschooled. So I grew up around adults, and then when I was 14, before like I really blew up, I lived by myself in Japan. So um I grew up really quickly just because of the circumstances, regardless of, you know, the fame coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But when the fame hit, I already had a really good sense of self. And I was like, it's fine. Like, I can handle this. And then my mom died. And then I was just like,
Mm.
ah, like I
Yeah,
couldn't, like, that's when like my 17-year-old
kind of
self
blew it all up for
almost
you.
like tracked back in. And so that's when I started deeply looking for outside sources to validate
Mm-hmm.
me. I was only seeing myself as the avatar online. I couldn't look at myself like as a human being, as a whole
Wow.
person with essence. Like it was you know, it was scary because I was constantly looking for mother's acceptance everywhere. I was like the little duck. I was like, are you my mom? Like in
Mm.
every scenario. But I also didn't even understand that. Like I can look back
Right.
now and see that. So it led to bullying getting the best of me online. Definitely. It led to a really intense eating disorder that I talked publicly about. Because
Mm.
I also realized, because I had such strong support systems, like even though I was like spinning, like my
Right.
family and my God family were just there, I was able to be like, okay, clearly this isn't, you know, this isn't me growing in an identity. So I would look back and actually think, wow, you know what? Maybe if I open up, and maybe if it's kind of similar to being like, oh, I think there's a demon in the closet. And then you're like, but if I just open the door and then a kitten comes out, you know what I mean? Like, it's like
Right.
that vibe.
Yeah.
So I did
Yeah.
that and it helped drastically. And then to my surprise, because of me finally being like, you guys are red, I'm broken. Like, I don't know what to do. Oh, everyone was like, we love her. I'm like, what? Like, it's
Well,
just like how,
there we
you
go.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
that
it gets into what
possibility.
you were just talking about, which is like people want to hear people like public figures talk about real things and struggles and know that like they're going through things like life is not perfect for anybody. So like for people to pretend that is just kind of silly at this point. Right.
I
I
know we're
mean,
all kind of just here spinning on a dot in the middle of space being like, ah, do you know what to do? Like
right.
literally. And I think we feel that so deeply, and we look
Hmm.
at celebrities as like these bigger than things, and
Totally.
then we're just kind of looking around being like, is there anyone else out here
Hmm.
in the area
Yeah.
that can tell
So I
me what's
think breaking that down is really healthy, honestly. And I think that's really
it's healthy? And
nice.
I think it's one of the reasons why I think social media is so beneficial. It's one of the good things about social media. It's like there's not a middleman anymore to the person and the people
Exactly.
following. And so that's been really beneficial.
Hmm.
Um, but now it's like we think success is fame now. And I've seen that with like the younger generation. We're like, fame, just want attention, attention, attention. And I think it's because we're neglecting seeing ourselves in a spiritual way. And so we're
Mm.
constantly like looking and looking and looking. And so I was talking to my friend about just fame the other week, and I was saying I almost feel like fame, it's a blessing in a way, but it's also a huge lesson. So whenever I see people like blow up, kind of how I did get really quickly famous, I'm just like,
Yeah.
like, what lesson did they need to like learn in order to accept themselves like outside of that? Because I had it so many times where I would, you know, do all these things. I was going out all the time, and then as soon as I was home alone, I didn't want to be alone with
Mm.
myself. And I only felt good about myself when I was surrounded by other individuals who validated my existence. And that was my first step into being like, there is something I need to learn
let's
here.
unpack this, right? Exactly. Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned sort of like seeing other people blow up sort of after you, and sort of like seeing them probably go through similar experiences that you went through. Is that something that you do notice? Like if there's like a new young star coming up and you're like, oh, like she's probably having an experience that was like mine, and whether that's good or bad.
Yeah, no, it's I definitely feel like it's my responsibility to be there if anyone needs that assistance. I've had
Mm-hmm.
that happen before where girls have come to me who, have just quickly gained an audience. And that's actually one of so, I mean, not to get into this, but Warrior is my like fitness community and lifestyle, like mental health movement
Mm-hmm.
community. There's a lot of girls with actually like big followings, and they come in there being like, how do you do this? And so it's
Right.
cool to, and I don't do it because, I want to be, it's just like, just genuinely, I'm like, this is my responsibility. Like I've walked this path. And
Totally.
so the least I can do is turn around and be like, what you're feeling is not crazy. Like I understand.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been amazing and fascinating, and just looking at it, not even from like I've been there, but from like a psychological perspective of how these people just react and evolve from the fame. I always find that really fascinating, because I don't think it's not humanly natural to have that much attention on us 24/7.
Totally.
It's just not.
Mm-hmm.
But I do
Very
think that the
interesting.
people, that I do think that the people who have endured that much from a young age and have come out the other side are beautifully complex and strong individuals. And I find them so fascinating because
Mm-hmm.
they've experienced more, in their lifetime, and they're like only 25, 27, whatever, than like the average person.
Totally.
Just
Mm-hmm.
like,
It's really
oh,
accelerated. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So like if we fast forward a little bit, and it's like you have these two major experiences, Sports Illustrated Rookie of the Year, Dancing with the Stars. And I feel like those, just like looking at the coverage of you since then, it's sort of like those two titles get attached to you a lot as sort of like I just feel like those are the like kind of like signifiers that people use in the media for you. And I'm just curious, like what, like is are you okay with that? Is that annoying to you? Like what's your sort of mental space when it comes to like those two, looking back at those two experiences and those following you to where you are?
I think it's taught me patience, because I evolve so quick. It's like a pastime for me. Like I love
Mm-hmm.
evolving. I love learning new things. I love hopping to other things, and like, I've had conversations with my team about this. Like
Uh-huh.
I jump really quickly. So they don't necessarily haunt me, but it's just more so like, yes, and all of this, and this. And it's also the story, right? So
Yeah.
I always find like the story of why I go do this, the story of why I wanted to go into acting, the story of why I started modeling, like all of, like, that's truly the essence of it. And so like for me in Sports Illustrated and getting attached with that title, it's like, I love that,
Yeah.
I really, I thought when I was younger, like Sports Illustrated was, like Victoria's
Like
Secret,
the
like
be all end all,
like
right?
here. And then I was just like, you know what? Like, I want to dig deep into what that means on like an intellectual side. And so once I got Sports Illustrated and I started getting magazine covers and all these things, in my head, I was like, okay, I did it. And like, I just want to move on to something else. And like, how can I like transfer to the next level? And then
Mm-hmm.
what would happen is like, my audience isn't ready for me to like hop on that wagon. And then I was just like, Dancing with the Stars called, I guess, like I'll do that, cause, and then of course, like the story is the most important thing for me. So then I was just like, well, then why am I doing Dancing with the Stars, And then
Mm-hmm.
it was my mom's favorite show. And so I was like, well, that gives me a reason to come onto this, like with a broader story and just something that people can connect deeply with, because I knew I would
Right.
be going on to that show as the Sports Illustrated model. I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also knew that if I could just be like, I am person just like you, like,
Yes,
nice to meet
exactly. And also
you. Yeah.
in various ways. I mean, I feel like you're clearly so savvy when it comes to like going into these experiences and having that story kind of ready and like knowing the expectation on you. And I feel like that's honestly such a big like skill to have. Like a lot of people don't have that awareness. No, it's really not easy. I
Like,
feel that's not easy to do. It
like
really
Mario
isn't.
Kart, like dodging. red shells. I'm just like, no.
Right. But but it's like, but at the same time, it's also like these experiences do open so many doors for you. And that I feel like you must have like the, like kind of just like the,
and like
appreciation for
doors
that.
and then people as well. Like I
Yes.
met the freaking coolest people ever, like through all of my ventures. And that's been amazing. And then for some, like, I really do think like everything is divine. And so like I did Dancing with the Stars, and then I like met this person, and then this person. And then through that, like I did the Ed Sheeran music video, and just like things
Yeah,
like they always are connected. And so I have so much faith in the experience, but also the people in the experience with me.
for sure. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah, no,
think, and
I
it,
love it, but I'm excited to be titled other things. It's like,
exactly. Yeah. And I think
I'm
that
excited.
gets into sort of like why we're here today, which is you
Yeah.
co-founded this amazing new platform called Future Prosperity. And I mean, I think to a lot of like kind of casual followers of yours who are aware of you, it's probably, it seems like a really big pivot for you in just terms of like what people expect from you.
I love that word so much.
I think it's a great, well, it's clearly something that you are fond of, which is pivoting.
Yeah.
And sort of what to talk to you about, sort of like first, like, was that something that you were thinking of, was like, is it like, should I be doing this if people don't expect it from me, or does that make it like sort of why you want to do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's both. Like I was kind of just like, our environment shouldn't be a trend. It should be like it's our survival. So like
Yeah.
I started just reading a lot about 2 years ago, like right before Dancing with the Stars. And I knew I was like, I just started to ask the question, what does influence actually mean? Like, what is that?
Mm,
What is influence? Why does it matter if it's not going to like leave something behind that can better the world? Like that's
yeah.
literally, that's my perception of what influence is like leaving something behind, leaving a path, a legacy, whatever it is. So, of course I like strapped on my backpack, went up that hike, like, and just was just researching and all the things. And I knew that for me, and this is just my perspective, there's a lot of things going on in the world, as we know. But for me, I'm just like, if we don't have air to breathe and fresh food, like we can't argue about these other semantics. So
Right.
like, I just feel like that's a priority. That is a priority for me personally. And so having the audience and, you know, just also knowing that speaking and being on stage and that those kinds of positions have been like, at heart I'm a performer, and I was just like, well,
Mm,
how can I utilize that part of myself to shine light on these things, right? And so
totally.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna start to just manifest this, and I know when the right thing is gonna come along. So like right before COVID, I was opening my apartment door, and this like 2-year-old like ran into my house, and I was just like, hello. It was like so random. And then
Hello.
yeah, I was like, he looked like the Gerber baby, like blue eyes, blonde hair. I was just like, this kid is gorgeous, but there's no one here. I was like, wait, what? And
Hmm.
so he's like playing with my soccer ball, and I hear Alice, Alice, and I'm just like, I turn, and this like beautiful like blonde girl comes into my house, and she's like, sorry, I like forgot my keys, and then I couldn't get them, and then I can't leave the baby alone, and just like being a mom, like all
Right.
over the place. And I was just like, it's okay. I'll take care of your son. Go get your keys. Like, it's all good. And so I just like hung out with him.
Oh my God.
We became little best friends within 5 minutes. And then her name came to be Vanessa. And she was like, she came back and she was just like, sorry about that. And I was just like, no, it's cool. Like, I love kids. I love kids so much. And then we just started talking about,
Hmm.
like, we just sat at the corner of my door. And
Wow.
apparently her apartment was next to my door, which I didn't even know. And we started talking about just everything. And she didn't know I had a following. She didn't know anything about
Hmm.
me. And she was like, yeah, I'm an impact, like, advertiser. Like, I've worked with the UN. I've worked with, like Tuscott, who's like an amazing like speaker as well in that space. She's just done a lot of things. She's worked with like Vice and Forbes and just crazy. And I'm
Amazing.
just like, wow, you're amazing. Holy crap. You're like just this beautiful woman who's managed to go into this intellectual space like head on as a mother.
Mm.
Like, I just find that so fascinating. And so we just started talking, and this was around the time I actually came back from filming a movie.
Hmm.
We had to cancel, like not cancel it, but pause it.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen with the world. And she was like, let's hang out. And so we just started hanging out for like those 3 days. And we just continued the conversation after I left to Hawaii. And I was just like, look, like I want to be in this space really badly. And as much as I could just be an ambassador for other things, I would love to have my own baby, because I want to show girls, whoever is like looking at me right now, I want to show them that they can create their own paths, like
Totally.
in this space. And like, let's make this cool, because the one thing lacking in the environmental space, coming from a Gen Z, is just coolness. You just need to
For
make it cool
sure.
and like
Mm-hmm.
want and like trendy and whatever. And like
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk did that beautifully with the car. And I'm just like, yay, it's cool. Like cool. People are like, oh, it's so fast. And I'm like, and it's good for the environment. But like it's just,
Yeah.
you can like do both at the same time. Like I truly think that like in order to uh turn back what we've done, we have to gamify it, right? So I was just like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is what these kids are wanting. And we just started building, and she was like, I have this old, 4-year deck, whatever. And I looked at it, and it was just like exactly what I was looking for. And I knew I wanted to tackle plastics specifically, because
Mm-hmm.
I started to research microplastics and what that's doing to our waters, how even the clothes, when we wash them, microplastics go down into the ocean, and how there's going to be more plastic than fish in the ocean by 2050, probably like sooner.
Crazy.
So it's just like crazy. And it doesn't actually ever deteriorate. It just gets small. And so that's what microplastics are.
Got
Microplastics
it.
are like, they're so small, you can't see them. So we're probably swimming
Mm-hmm.
in plastic now, but we can't even see it. So I was just like, oh my God. And,
Kind of scares you into like, okay,
it,
what can we
it
do?
scared me. And then I started
Yeah.
reading more, and she started assigning books to me. She's like, you're going to read this book, and you're going to read this book.
Crash course.
It was
Yeah.
just, I literally went, because she has 10 years of, just experience on me. And so I was just like, give it to me. Like, I always tell people, I'm like, I'm best. I learn best when you just throw me in. Like, you
For
just throw
sure.
me in.
Mm-hmm.
And we started to build this platform, this website. And like, the goal was to basically be an educational platform and a regenerative marketplace. So it's like, we can replace these things. And like, I definitely feel it, like the core regenerative design is it's a human right at this point, and it's what we
Mm-hmm.
need so badly. And yet the only regenerative sustainable products that I saw were like on Etsy and all of these like small business. And I'm like,
Right. It
no,
wasn't
like
mass market enough. Exactly.
no. And then also I wanted to help these small businesses who are genuinely like giving their lives to like selling these things. Like, obviously it's not that profitable, but it's like they're still doing it. And so I wanted to like find these companies and bring them onto this like wholesale marketplace that we could build out, and it becomes bigger and bigger. So then we can like foster small businesses, we can foster regenerative products, and then
Mm.
we can foster an educational platform blog around it to inform. And one of the differentiators of the blog was for it to be a solution-based blog. So what I felt is I would go on a magazine, I would go on, whatever, it's like the scam, whatever
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
you're looking at, and you read something and you're like, oh crap. And then that's as far as it gets, because there's no solution to it.
There's
There's
no
no,
like action item or right. Exactly.
yeah. So I wanted to either like attach products. So we talk about a problem, then we attach the products that solve it. We talk about a problem, we connect the organization that's solving it. So like, it's very like problem solution, like kind of like
Love
how
it.
males do it.
Yeah.
Like, men are
Well,
like problem solution, and women are like, "Wah!" But that was like the idea.
but I feel like what you're saying is like what you said earlier, which is like you have to make this like accessible and easy and something that like
Yeah,
just like isn't intimidating at all for people
you
because
have to make it
you know
fun.
yeah, because I think
We're
there's so
not
many people that recognize the issue, right? Like a lot of people know that
knows,
yeah, everyone knows, but it's like, okay, what can I do about it? Or like what like why should I care because it's going to happen in, X amount of decades? Like no,
yeah,
like there are solutions right now and
right
it's
now.
yeah.
Exactly. And also like this space isn't that inviting. Like when I started looking into this in the sustainability space, I didn't know where to go first. And I felt like I was scared to speak up. And like it's very it's a small, like, it's just, yeah, it's exclusive, and
Well,
it's just, it doesn't feel welcome. And so that was another thing.
mhm.
I was like, one, like this needs to be fun, and we need to make this fun, make it funny and real. We need to have real conversations with people who aren't in the sustainability space,
Right.
who want to come into the sustainability space but are so scared to get shamed. I mean, even I got shamed, and I'm just like, we have to do better. Like no one, like, screw perfect, screw zero waste. That's not realistic for the system that we live in right now.
Right.
But if like per se one celebrity each all decided to take one thing out of their life and never use plastic on just that product, and then the amount of people that would influence, like that's the change.
That's real change. Yeah,
That's
for sure.
real change. And
Yeah.
it's lasting change, and it's also demanding the brands to have a standard of how they need to produce their products now, because this isn't about, oh, the sky's gray. It's about our survival. So it's just so much bigger than convenience now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, there was a line in sort of like the press details for the brand that really stuck out to me. I'm just going to read it for you. The environmental world has often been exclusionary and elitist, but their mission is to advance intersectional environmentalism and sustainable alternatives for common products. And I feel like that just sums up the issue so well. It's like, it's just sort of, it is intimidating. It is sort of like top down when it should be bottom up, and I think that,
and like the people who are affected are like, the people in poorer neighborhoods, and so that don't have that big of a footprint. So it's like us, like we are the ones that need to like do these small things. And that's what's so, that was so mind blowing to me. I was like, it's really not that hard. And on top of it, these products last 5 times longer than like a normal thing. So like, you're actually saving money. And when I heard that, I was just like, okay, we have to do this. We have to do
for sure.
Like,
well, I mean, the products on your brand, they start at $5, right? Isn't that like, it's like, and then you're giving away free recipes for things. It's like, but that to me is like, okay, it's money, putting your money where your mouth is, really.
Exactly. And it's like, hey, look, if you can't afford this, like you can just make it at home. Like that was another thing we wanted to implement, because we understand that this space, because it hasn't been built out to the way that other, industries and sections of this, like these products have been. It will take time, just how like it took Elon Musk time to drop the price on the electric car. Like it's going to take time, but we have to demand it first. So it's really up to the customer and the people who follow me, the people who are part of our team, like that, like we're the ones that have to demand the change, because it's, we live in a capitalistic world, and like my goal, I'm like, I want to make, and this sounds kind of weird, but like, I just want to make the environmental space super profitable. Cause I'm like, I want I want the richest people in the world to be the ones that are helping the planet.
To want to get in on it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So like, that's my hope. I'm like,
it's literally like how everyone like got in on like the cannabis game, like a couple of years, because it was so profitable. It's like, no, let's get in on like the helping the environment game.
Yeah. Like make this like profitable, like get everyone rich in this space. So like people are like fighting to help this planet. Like that's the vibe, like that's what I'm trying to do.
Totally.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, no, I was just wanting you to sort of like take me through Future Prosperity's like offerings, like what if somebody goes to the website, what are they going to see?
So they're going to see one full bundle set, and then 2 a kitchen and a bathroom set. And this is more of like a proof of concept for us, because we found these brands and we love their backstory and we just want to support them. And 2, we just wanted to make sure that like we could give like, here's everything you need for your kitchen, you're done. And like, that's going to last you a long time. Like, we don't want you, like, we needed to create this marketplace to keep the lights on for our employees, our amazing mothers who are working on, but like our goal is more so the educational platform that we're building out now. So exciting. But like, these are just small solutions. So we have the kitchen, and then we have the bathroom, which is toothpaste, which is my favorite toothpaste brand. I was so about them, David's. These are so good. It's so good. And then just a bamboo toothbrush, so that you take that when you travel, as opposed to like, grabbing whatever is
for sure.
We have some amazing soap bars that are all natural. We have a dish soap in the kitchen set that's fire, because it's like, instead of squirting, you like hold the dish soap, and then you take our scrubber and you scrub it on and that's how you clean. So it's just like, it's not exactly what I thought I would be selling, but I'm just like, this is a way to help the environment.
100%.
So like,
you're starting. This is the starting point. It's like, I think you can't. It's hard to launch something and have everything like totally ready and perfect and big. Like, no, you have to start somewhere.
It's really hard
like,
to create hype around dish soap, but like, what I mean? But it's been actually like so fulfilling because
Yeah.
I know when someone buys this, like it's genuinely making like a household difference as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to like, I think we have a lot of brands and I don't like, of course, any brand that I create, it's going to be as transparent and sustainable as possible. But I don't even want to sell it like that. I just think that
Yeah.
should be like a standard, you know? So I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, anything I create, it's going to be that because I can't, like my heart can't not do that
Mm-hmm.
at this point. Um, and then
Amazing.
hopefully like I can be that example for these girls. And like, that's another thing. It's like the girls who I'm onboarding for warriors to be warriors beside me. It's like, they're like, I'm creating a brand here. I'm creating this. And I'm just like, what fabric are you using? Like, I'm genuinely trying to like get in there and
Love it.
influence them as well. So then they
Mm-hmm.
influence everyone else. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's an interconnectedness.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I feel like sort of like winding down, it's like I mean, again, like you had this huge platform. We've talked about this and just sort of like, okay, what is influence? Like, how am I going to actually like
Yeah.
be like somebody who is making like a positive influence on the world and all your followers? And I feel like you're definitely like, I mean, you've been on that path for a while now, but do you feel like this is like kind of like ratcheting it up like several notches for you to be like I'm serious about this. Like I am really like behind this and I want to share like really impactful messages with people that follow me.
Yeah, and I just also want to be like, you don't have to be zero waste to be in this space. Like
Totally.
that belief. Like, no, 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 no. We don't have time for people to be like, but you drive a Range Rover. Who cares? Like, whatever. Like, it's fine. It's fine. Like, we just need little things, and that's
Mm-hmm.
gonna make a difference. And also, hopefully, like, yeah, I want to speak on behalf of not even this space, but behalf on the people who generally just want fresh air and good water. You know.
Yeah, of course. Of
But
course.
wherever that leads me, it leads me. I have faith that it's going to take me to some amazing rooms and, hopefully speak at some amazing places. But like, bottom line is like, the goal is to just educate and inform. And so then therefore people can become their own heroes. For there to be a hero, there has to be helpless people. And so I don't really believe in that idea. I just simply want to like facilitate a space where people can become their own heroes. And actually genuinely like be like, oh, I actually do like me existing, I matter. And so then therefore, and be not even regenerative in their lives and material things, but regenerative in like their selves, like self-generate and self-evolve. And like,
Wow.
that's truly the goal of this. Cause I'm just like, we need all of it. We need everyone, like everyone
Yeah,
to
I
come
love
through.
that. That's
Yeah.
really nice. Well, Alexis, I feel like we could go on for 8 hours. I feel like about this, but tell me where people can kind of keep up with Future Prosperity and with you and everything you have going on.
So the website is futuresprosperity.co. That, and then also we have a blog that will be coming out soon. The Instagram is just simply Future Prosperity. It's in my bio. And yeah, just be looking out for different things about it. I mean, this is so cool because I'm working with, some empowering, like 6 females, 3 of them are moms. So we're learning this space and we're going to evolve and grow. And I'm just really excited to see where we take it. Cause like, to me, Future Prosperity, I would love, my goal for this would to be more so a movement,
Hmm.
for a prosperous future for everyone. So
We can
yeah.
only hope. Yeah.
I
Well,
know. Like,
you're gonna help us. You're gonna help us get there. I love it.
hey.
Well, thank you so much, Alexis. It was so nice to
Yeah.
catch up, and I'm
Thank you.
so glad you're doing well with everything going on. So,
Yeah. You too. Appreciate
yes.
it. All
All
right.
right. Thanks, Alexis.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. For more stories from In the Know, go to intheknow.com. You can also follow In the Know on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and find me, Gibson Johns, on Instagram and Twitter at Gibsonoma. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.